everyone, welcome to the Do It Yourself Trek series. I'm Vishnu Benne from Indiahikes, and in this series we talk about treks that you can do on your own without the help of any trekking organization. In this video we are going to be talking about Karnataka's best kept secret, the Ballarayana Trek. The many few trekkers who have done this trek talk so much about it with so much love, and one such person with us as well today who's going to be speaking about this trek is Sandhya, the co-founder of Indiahikes. She loves doing this trek and she's done this many times. In fact, she's one of the first ones to do this trek in our organization as well. Let's welcome Sandhya and let's get chatting about the Ballarayana Trek. Hi Sandhya.
Hi Vishnu, how wonderful it is to talk about treks and especially treks in the Western Ghats. And this particular trek, we really don't organize it because it's one trek where we go to stretch our legs and we go whenever we want to go to the hills. And we also believe that treks like these people can very well do on their own. They also get into the right spirit of trekking when you do these treks on your own. So let's get talking about this beautiful trek.
Great Sandhya. So we are speaking about Indiahikes best kept secret trek as well. Speaking about this trek, Sandhya, there are two names that you hear each time you hear about this trek. There is Ballarayana, there is the Bandaje Trek as well. How are these two connected?
So both these are important locations on the trek. The Ballarayana is a place on the trek. The same with the waterfall. This is also a highlight of the trek. And traditionally this trek was not done like how we do it these days. It was a trek that you would start from the Ujjire side in Dakshin Kannada district and that would connect the Chikmagalur district. Ballarayana is in Chikmagalur. So it was almost like a pass crossing trek where you start from one district and come to another. But what we have done is we have kept the best parts of the trek and cutting down a little bit on the effort and the logistics difficulties and all that. So we start and end the trek on the Chikmagalur side itself, but it covers the best parts, the Ballarayana Fort, the Bandaje waterfalls. So all in all, it's the best part is kept and made slightly easier.
When you say the best part, I have to agree with you because the first initial bit of the trek itself, like right 2 minutes or 10 minutes into the trail, you see some jaw-dropping, amazing views on the trek. And this trek, in fact, is stitched differently than any other Western Ghats trek, right? So what is that you see on this trek? What makes this so different?
Yeah, so this trek starts in the Chikmagalur side, and even before you get on the main trail, you get a glimpse of what is yet to come. So just right at where the trek starts, a small 2-minute climb up a detour actually. So you get onto this flattish place, and that leads to a ridge, just about 200 meters. And at that ridge, you get the sweeping views of the Kudremukh Valley and the national park. The peak is right in front of you, and you are on top of a cliff on the other side. Almost 1,000-2,000 feet drop below. So that itself is an experience. You don't expect such magnificent views right within 10 minutes of being on a trek. This place is actually a known place. It's called as Rani Bagilu, known for its views. And you also have a high point there. So I would say you have to spend this half an hour exploring that region just before the start of the trek itself. It's usually done that evening that you get there and keep the main trek itself for the next day morning.
Walking to the fort, Sanya, let's talk about that because this fort walk that you have, you get some different views altogether. And when you're walking through that forest initially, it's quite a small forest, you see a different sort of view. Once you reach the fort, on the left side, right side, there is multiple different angles that you can see on this trek. I'm asking this question because I feel this fort is placed at such a beautiful point that you get this 360-degree view. Let's talk about the walk from this Rani Bagilu to the fort and the views from the fort itself.
So I'll first talk about the forest because the forest is not to be missed either. So you have a short, and then let me get to the fort. So you have a short half an hour forest section. It's a typical Western Ghats forest where the trees are dense and the sunlight really doesn't come in. The forest floor is a little wet. You have brown leaves, a carpet of brown leaves laid out, and the trail gently climbs through it. It's not a very hard walk, but it is just that right walk to give you that Western Ghats feel. And you go through this, and within half an hour this forest ends and you are popping into the meadows, the grasslands, and right there you see this fort high up in the meadows or in the sky. In fact, when you're driving to this place Sunkasale itself, where the trek actually starts, you see the fort high up, and it's actually a great feeling to know that you're going to go up there. So when you actually get there, it's another 45 minutes of climb to get to the fort. The fort is placed at a vantage point. It is placed at the highest point in this entire meadows or hills, altitude about 5,000 feet. And here you have this fort which gives you sweeping views of the valley through which you came, the Chikmagalur Valley. Sunkasale is right above Sunkasale. You see the plantations. You don't really see the road because of the overgrowth, but it's a full green carpet laid out below you. And to the left, you see this Kudremukad, you see the peak, you see the national parks, valleys, and you see the rolling hills on that side. On your right side, you see the undulating meadows, the Shola forest in between, the dark green patches of Shola forest and the light green meadows. So, overall, 360 degrees, fascinating views, and that is why the fort is also kept there, not for the views, but for the vantage point and the full view that it gives. This fort apparently is almost 800 years old, built in the 12th century by the Hoysala kings. It's slightly dilapidated right now, but you don't. It's the fort also has many bastions, two or three bastions. So don't just spend time on the fort. Do spend time, but also explore these bastions that stretch out. And you get this everything that people used to see. You get to see that, and yeah, it's an experience being there.
Wow, okay, it's very rare to find forts like this, right, on a Western Ghat trek in Karnataka especially.
Actually, yes. This is one of the few forts in Chikmagalur. Chikmagalur district really doesn't have forts. You see lots of forts in Maharashtra. You see forts in other parts of Karnataka also, but on a trek in Chikmagalur, very few forts.
Wow. Okay, that makes it more and more like why it's called a best kept secret. Walking from there to the waterfall, and that section is something that we all absolutely love. Takes some amazing turns, goes through a cliff, then there's the meadows, all of this that you see. One thing that comes to my notice is that you start at a high point and you actually walk down, and this is quite different than how you do probably a summit trek in other Western Ghat trails. Talk about that walk towards the waterfall itself, Sunny.
Yeah, on this trek, the high point, the fort, comes almost 1.5 hours into the trek. But don't think that your trek is over, the best part of the trek is over. It actually starts from there, and the best things are yet to come.
Okay.
So, you are coming down, gently coming down from the fort. It's not a very hard descent, and you're walking through these grasslets. You are traversing one rolling hill to another rolling hill, and you're most part of the time on a ridge. So, you have the sweeping views of the mountain ranges on the right side. It actually spreads out on the western side. So on a clear day, perhaps you can see the coastline also. On any day, you see the plains of the coast. So you have one view on the other side. On the left side, you have this full green carpet, immediately grasslands and cholla forest, and then the other side, the valley below. And this meadow itself goes on for long. So when you are there on top of it, you almost get this Himalayan meadow feeling, especially the meadows of Ali and Beni. You have quite some time, about 4 kilometers on this. So that's a dream come true. You don't have much effort, and you're walking through some of the best grasslands of the country, I would say, not just the Western Ghats.
Wow, okay.
And it is only at the end of it the trail descends and you get down to the Bandaje Arbi waterfalls.
Sandhya, let's talk about the most adventurous part of the trek, the waterfall. And do you say that this is the reason why it's called the best kept secret of Karnataka?
Absolutely, Vishnu, because when you get to the waterfall, you don't even realize what is the adventure there. And in fact, the waterfall comes as a welcome break from this walk in the meadows. Generally, it gets sunny when you get there, and there is this nice cluster of trees and a nice stream flowing in between, a very rocky section, and then you can sit down there, you can wet your feet, wash your face. You can also have lunch over there. Most people have lunch. Just a piece of advice: please do not leave behind anything when you eat food over there, because take everything back and you can just love the place. So once you spend a good amount of time there relaxing, you just follow the stream and go down along with the stream. It's about 200 meters, and then suddenly this canopy of trees opens up and you see that you are at the edge of a cliff.
Wow.
And this stream then jumps down. You know that it's jumping down, you still don't know how far it is jumping down, how deep it is diving down. And you gingerly place your foot on the rocks and go there, and then when you look down, you see this 1,000 feet drop that this waterfall is going down. And oh my god, it is a jaw-dropping experience. So much so, I would say don't go alone. If you are alone, people advise you to lie down and see down, because it gently slides down and you might miss a footing. So better go as two people, have a friend along always, but don't miss seeing down either. That's a sight of your lifetime. And you usually get there in the afternoon, and this whole cliff is facing westwards. So the western sun falls on this water against the rocks, and usually you see rainbows formed below you.
Oh, wow.
Now again, all these are sights that you see only in special places, and this is one such special place and an adventure also. So don't miss it, but be careful.
Wow, it sounds extremely exciting to be there at the waterfall mouth. Usually you see the waterfalls from down below and it's falling down, and this is one trek that you can see from the top, which makes it quite special, Sandhya. I'm drawing you back all the way to the start of the trek, where you pitch your tents and you have your campsite. And this particular location itself is quite beautiful. Gives you a very raw experience to camping than you find on any other Western Ghat treks, the mainstream ones. You are the one who chose this campsite. So what made you decide, okay, this has to be the campsite for us?
See, to camp anywhere on a trek, you need water. And on this trek, you don't have too many water sources. One is obviously the Bandaje Arbi area. You can pitch 2 or 3 tents there, but couple of hindrances over there. One is you have to take all your camping gear, your tent, your sleeping bag, your food, everything all the way on the trek and get it back. The other thing is you also need permission from the forest department to pitch right inside the trek and the national park. So to avoid both these, we figured out that what if we pitch just outside the trek, and this is why we scouted around, and there's a temple that is about just a kilometer from the start point of the trek. It is quite tucked away and secluded, and the temple is not really in use. It also has an adjoining ground, again secluded amidst a clump of trees.
Okay.
So when you are pitching camp there, nobody can actually see that you're there. Neither can you see anybody else over there. It also has a small kacha road connecting to it, so your vehicle can go there. There's a temple pond that can act as your water source. This is not really a source for drinking water, but for water source for everything else. For drinking water, what we do is we usually fill either from Sumkasale, the road head, or from one of the houses nearby, 2-3 kilometers down. So if you have your own drinking water, this serves as a lovely camping ground, very secluded. Actually, in the evenings, peacocks come. We have seen many peacocks come. You hear peacocks. So wonderful camping ground just outside the trek. So I think you can also make this a camping ground.
Oh, lovely. So it's nice to have peacocks in your campsite. Who wouldn't want that? Thank you, Sandhya, for deep diving on the Ballarayana Trek. And there you go, guys. I was Sandhya speaking about the Ballarayana Trek, and she spoke about every bit of the section on the trail. And this is one of the best kept secrets, and now you all know why. For more such videos, hit subscribe and click on the bell icon next to it to get reminded of our videos.